You know, you guys, the Cover Killer Nation, have exposed me to some great artists. Because even though I am one of the busiest music nerds on the planet, even though I am the premier metal nerd here on YouTube, sometimes even I don't know everything. And even though I work at a music store, that actually only becomes magnified, considering I have to know a little bit of everything about a little bit of everyone. So, whenever I get a request from you guys, and one that comes in bulk from a lot of you, well, that tells me something. That tells me that there's something going on, that there's a new artist out there, or one that's been pre-established, that has released something really special. In this case, it's a new artist from Canada, Beyond Creation, with their 2011 album, The Aura. Now, I know that with this album review, I'm about 6 or 7 months late, because this was released originally back in April. However, I've gotten clamors, I have gotten texts, I have gotten emails, I've gotten messages, I've gotten channel comments begging me to review this album for quite some time. And, well, the docket's been pretty full for quite a long time. But finally, I've gotten the opportunity to listen to it, and I can reflect my opinion and my thought process on you guys. And it's up to you guys, since you guys told me to check this out, to help me promote this, and let the band know that there's someone out there supporting them, and all of us, here in the Cover Killer Nation. Beyond Creation is kind of a progressive tech metal band from Canada, and whenever I listen to their album The Aura, the very first thing I thought of is, whoa. They remind me of a lot of one of their contemporaries, and that's Quo Vadis. And if you remember that band, they are extremely talented, very, very well done in the tech death department. But Beyond Creation almost takes their ideas and just says, you know what? We're going to magnify them. We're going to increase the level of intensity. We're going to increase the level of complexity, and we're going to flat out blow your mind. Throughout this album, I really got this feeling, and this is a band that's not afraid to take their complex constructions to very, very long lengths. There are tracks that are going to eclipse the 6 and 7 minute mark, and the last track alone is going to eclipse 11 minutes and take you on a ride that you have maybe never heard before. This is one of those things where you sit back and you listen to it, and you just are kind of mesmerized by it. You don't even move. You don't even think to headbang, even though after a couple of listens you do begin to do so. But the first listen, you just listen to it, and you just think to yourself, wow. What am I listening to? How are they able to do that? That fretless bass sounds fucking fantastic. These guys are for real. These guys are the future. And the sad part about it is that this is a future band that may not get the recognition, credibility, and support that they deserve. And this is something that we need to change, and we need to start to change that right now. Why? Because we've seen great artists kind of come and go. We've seen movements kind of get a lot of legendary status amongst the metal underground and kind of the grassroots community of metal fans that are willing to go outside the heavy metal envelope. They're kind of willing to go outside, you know, the typicalities of some of the bands that many people will lay claim and worship, and will kind of retain themselves in that little metal social bubble, so to speak, and they refuse to kind of go out there and travel around and sort of pick up on new little things. You know, they're explorers in some regard because they've got it that far. However, they're not full-out, flat-out expedition-style explorers, the kinds of which that would start in America and decide they want to go to a safari in Africa right after taking a trip to the Himalayas. That's kind of what this is. This is kind of like going out into the wilderness and finding something exotic that just blows your mind, and you're not really sure how to react. My reaction is this. This is a band that is extremely focused. Their craft is very complex and would be very difficult for even the most experienced and well-traveled metal practitioners to replicate. And that speaks wildly about their abilities as musicians. The singer alone is able to emit these very low glottal growls, and he's not one that's going to really deviate. He's not one that's going to take those low glottal growls and then try to offset them with some sort of high shrieking vocal, some sort of clean. He's willing to stay in that dirty, dusty, you know, really grim range. And the music is chaotic. This is a very nice representation of what this style is supposed to be. It's exceptionally chaotic. It's very technical. It's very precise. It's almost like a well-oiled machine that has been geared up, that's been tuned up, Every little piece of this machine has been inspected, re-inspected, and then had the re-inspection re-inspected to ensure that it is the premier killing machine that cannot be destroyed or even touched. An impenetrable force. This band is an impenetrable force whenever you listen to the album for the first time. Upon other listens, you start to maybe get some feelings of, okay, now that I've heard it once, it doesn't strike me nearly as potently. But that's going to be with anything. This is a really solid release, and this is something that I believe, well, is unjustifiably underrated. I think Canada really has a nice budding talent in Beyond Creation. One that certainly, if all goes to plan, will become one that will ascend to the ranks of metal godliness in a very short period of time. That's, of course, if they're able to retain themselves as a band and start to get the press that they really deserve. This is one of those bands that really deserves to grace the cover, or at least have a nice article in a publication such as Metal Hammer, as opposed to a band that's just kind of worn out the same tired riffs for ages, like a Five Finger Death Punch or I don't know, a Godsmack or Disturbed. This is a band that actually proves that they deserve to be maybe one of those highlights of 2011. You know, the class of 2011 rookie class, a freshman, or whatever you want to say from whatever publication. Last year we had Barren Earth really come out of nowhere with their debut album and absolutely floor a lot of people, including myself, because they were able to attain the New Album of the Year award by the new band, or the Rookie of the Year, so to speak. This year, Beyond Creation really is, at this point, running rather unopposed. And it's quite impressive. This is going to be a hard release for a new band that I will have listened to, one that is releasing their debut album, to really top. Although I'm sure there are bands out there that certainly will be willing to try. I highly recommend this album. I highly recommend this act. 8.5 out of 10 means that you guys, as the Cover Killer Nation, if you've not heard of these guys, and maybe have seen some of the comments on the channel and just thought to yourself, that's just a fanboy, nah. That's someone giving a die-hard good suggestion. Beyond Creation is definitely a band to check out, and it's one that I recommend that you do check out. Like them on Facebook, tell them what you think. Let's make sure that this band is around for a very long time.